With me now is Ugandan opposition politician Bobi Wine. His real name's Robert Kyagulanyi, and he launched his political career in 2017 when he was voted in as an MP in a landslide vote. Since then, he's become the poster politician for the many young people in Uganda who want a change in leadership. Now, 74-year-old Yoweri Museveni has been running the country for the last 33 years, and a constitutional amendment has just been brought in to remove the 75-year-old upper age limit for the presidency. Now, the next elections are due in 2021. Bobi Wine's had several run-ins with the police, having been badly beaten last year whilst in custody. He had to go to the US for treatment for those injuries. He faces multiple charges, from treason to alleged involvement in illegal protests. Now, many observers believe that he's being politically targeted because he is a threat to the status quo in Uganda. Some of his critics, though, say that he's just a political flash in the pan. So, Bobi Wine, thanks very much for coming in to speak to me.
Thank you for having me.
So you've had a pretty tough time of it over the last year or so. In fact, ever since you launched your political career. Now, last year when you were in custody, that sparked international and national calls for your release. But looking at the international side of it, do you think that's a sign that attitudes or positions are changing in terms of global understanding of what is happening within Uganda?
Sure. Thank you very much. I believe that the world is opening its eyes wider to the realities that are ongoing in Uganda. It should be remembered that President Museveni has, and we must give it to him, has been very smart in hiding the atrocities being committed on his people back home. Many people have called him a benevolent dictator because he has been able to suppress the voices back home while he presents himself to the rest of the world as a democrat. He has stifled all freedoms, no freedom of expression. He has rigged elections, and indeed he has unleashed terror to the people of Uganda. But now, we are glad that the world is beginning to see Museveni for the dictator that he is, and they are beginning to hear the cries of the people of Uganda.
So we're talking about elections there. The next ones are up in 2021, and it's most likely that Museveni is going to be running in that because we've just seen any barriers that would have been created by his age removed by that constitutional amendment. First question, are you going to be running in those 2021 elections?
First of all, yes, we are expecting elections, and if it was business as usual, President Museveni would be expected to rig the elections using the military as usual. However, our entry as the young people of Uganda is a breath of fresh air because we are the majority. We are over 85% of the population. And that is not enough. Even the elders are with us. And indeed, the people of Uganda are more united than ever before. So yes, I've said it before and I'm saying it now that my team and I are seriously considering challenging President Museveni in the next presidential elections. And that's less than 2 years away.
That's considering, but you haven't decided totally.
We are yet to arrive on a final decision. We are trying to build synergies. We are bringing together all forces of change so that we go into this more united than ever before. Yes, we have spoken, and we are many contenders. Anyone among us that we choose to lead us will be blessed to lead us. And yes, I've said it before and I'm saying it, that should the team choose me to lead them, I'm equally ready to challenge the guy.
So some of your critics say that you have, you may be the face for the youth, and that you may have been popular because of your previous career, well, your career as a musician. So what specifically do you want to change in Uganda? What are some of the policies that you would like to implement if you did get into a position to do so?
Well, it should be known that Uganda is not short of amazing policies. We have had very many propositions that have been well researched, intelligently thought through, and indeed presented. However, because of the rampant corruption and the lack of rule of law, none of them has not been implemented. So our policy is going to be mainly implementation. Even if we just implemented the 10-point program that Museveni was singing 33 years ago, we would would be ahead. Yes, we've had very many programs. We've had the Vision 2040 and many others that are presented nicely and shelved. They are not implemented because of the rampant corruption. And yes, most of the corruption scandals are traced back to the president's office or to his family members or cronies. So our main target is implementing the policies, the programs that have been suggested in the past.
And were you surprised by the size of your following when you entered into politics?
Well, I wasn't surprised before because the many years I've spent as a singer, I've been reaching all the common people, and the sentiment has been the same. Change, change, change. Only that many of the politicians that have been presenting themselves, yes, many of them have been bought up, many have been intimidated, but also many of them have been comfortable with only elevating their position in the dictatorship and not looking at putting an end to it. So to see many people coming up, many people agreeing with us is a reflection of what has been building up within the population.
So you've been following what's been going on in Sudan. Do you think that that in any way is going to boost your efforts to bring about change by appealing to the populace? When people look across the border and they see, I mean, yes, there are continued problems in Sudan, but that at one point would have been completely unimaginable that Omar Bashir would be forced out. Does that in any way feed into any of the aspirations that you have for what you hope to see in Uganda?
The recent events in Sudan certainly feed into the events occurring and to occur in Uganda in the near future. And not only Sudan, dictators have been kicked away. In the recent past, you must have seen what happened in Algeria and what happened in Libya and indeed in Burkina Faso. And recently it happened in Sudan. That shows you that the people in Africa are standing up to the dictators. It should be remembered that Omar el-Bashir was a more ferocious dictator. He had a bigger army and he was even more sophisticated than Yoweri Museveni. He was a field marshal in the army, but he was kicked away by people power. So that inspires us to believe more, to push more, and indeed to work more to the liberation of our country.
And just finally, you've had a lot of trouble in terms of performing. I think it's 120 concerts that have been cancelled over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind the size of your political ambitions, is it worth still trying to perform as a musician?
Well, I'm a musician. I'm only here because I'm a Ugandan and it's my responsibility. I've been blessed with a loud voice that can communicate to people across all classes and all walks of life. So I'm trying to use it the same way I'm encouraging the doctors, the farmers, the teachers to use all they have to see that we liberate our country.
Thank you very much, Bobi Wine, for coming in to speak to us.
Thank you very much for having me.